Hi everyone, I'm Dom Griffin, I'm a film critic and you're watching the Armchair Auteur. This is an ongoing video series I do where we talk about new movies, old movies, screenplay analysis, television series reviews, that sort of thing. So if you like movies and you like movie adjacent popular culture and you like to see somebody pick those things apart, you're in the right place and you should consider subscribing. Today, I'm reviewing Nightmare Alley, Guillermo del Toro's first film since he won the Oscar for Best Picture and Best Director at the 2017 awards for The Shape of Water. And it's quite a nice change of pace for one of our last remaining masters of horror. I really forgot until just a few minutes ago The Shape of Water won Best Picture at the Oscars. Guillermo del Toro literally got the Academy to give him an Oscar for what is essentially thinly veiled Abe Sapien fanfiction. What a world. Now, I saw Nightmare Alley a few weeks ago and still haven't had time to watch the original 1947 film version of William Lindsay Gresham's novel, starring Tyrone Power. But that doesn't matter so much since del Toro himself says he read the book back in 1992 before he saw the movie and sees this version more as a direct adaptation of the source material than a remake of that earlier picture. GDT's film stars Bradley Cooper as Stan Carlisle, a drifter turned carny turned grifter who perverts a methodology he's stolen from a pair of vaudeville performers to become a dangerous demagogue who takes the power of deception too far. While it's only the second best performance Bradley Cooper has given us in 2021, the role traces a direct line to one of my other favorite B-Coop turns, his severely underrated work in David O. Russell's otherwise forgettable 2015 film, Joy.
I take it very seriously. I see it as a privilege that we have to go into people's homes, and I despise anybody who's cynical about that. Jack Warner wasn't cynical about that. Daryl Zanuck wasn't cynical about that, and Neil Walker is not cynical about that. Let me show you the stage.
In that film, Cooper leverages his uniquely malevolent charm to portray a QVC executive who expands upon the unique psychological underpinnings of selling bored housewives, beauty products, and wonder mops.
Stars and people, they always make the mistake and think it's about the face, but it's not. It's about the hands. Because that's what people use. They hold things they care about. And her hands are going to become their hands. And that becomes them. And then their voice, and then their eyes. Stars always make the mistake.
But here in Nightmare Alley, he's a man who genuinely believes giving people hope, even if it's a twisted, hollow, self-serving simulacrum of the good stuff, is the core of a perfect con. It doesn't matter if it's a fleeting proposition, so long as it fills his pockets with money, and, temporarily anyway, puts a smile on someone's face. The film is really about the inherent danger of taking shortcuts, about how noxious and potentially intoxicating misusing the transformative power of storytelling can be. I'm someone who is really obsessed with the process of telling stories and how we use fiction and artifice to make up for how broken the world is. Weaving a good yarn can be such a nourishing, soul-saving activity. Reality is hard. Escapism is necessary. But for stories to work, catharsis needs to be earned. Early in the film, David Strathairn, who plays a former mentalist, now an alcoholic, with Cooper's character under his wing, warns him about pushing the limits of their craft, and how even though some techniques can yield great financial return, the forces at play are too powerful to exploit for personal gain. Which, means he's probably going to do the complete opposite. Cooper, alongside love interest Rooney Mara, leaves the carnival behind to ply his new trade in the big city, where he joins forces with a shady psychiatrist played by Cate Blanchett, and the movie devolves into the recognizable structure of a classical film noir, with femme fatales, double crosses, and a super dark, ironic conclusion. The film does a curious job of blending the inside baseball, tactile exploration of carnival tricks and stagecraft that calls to mind Christopher Nolan's excellent work in The Prestige.
The audience knows the truth. The world is simple, miserable, solid all the way through.
With the timely, at times blunt, social commentary of Elia Kazan's A Face in the Crowd, drawing many of the same loose comparisons to Trumpism that literally every retrospective think piece on the movie written between 2016 and now has done already. It feels a little bit cliche to point out that this is GDT's first movie that doesn't feature any sort of supernatural elements. There's no tentacle monsters, there's no mermen, there's no anything that's like his usual wheelhouse. He's the kind of filmmaker who for a long time has made stories where the monsters are sympathetic creatures and it's the men who are the bad ones, and this is a movie where man is evil to the nth degree. He's sort of taken that idea, like the way Michael Shannon, for instance, is portrayed in The Shape of Water. He's sort of taken that whole vibe and made it like a whole movie. And it's actually refreshing to see him go in this direction because he's obviously such an ardent lover of like the film noir genre, and he brings it to life in this modern, fun way that really suits his particular style while still really honoring that type of movie. The screening I went to, I could literally hear other critics like rolling their eyes and groaning at some of the dialogue and some of like the delivery and some of the overall tone, and how it really does just feel like an expensive modern day version of the movies in the 1940s, but I love those movies, so like that rolled to me. Because this is a man who had no problem showing us in grotesque and vivid detail a live vivisection of a vampire in Blade 2, but didn't have the stones to let us see a merman's dick in the shape of water. It really, to me, feels like he's taken that whole freak show thing as far as it can go, and I'd love to see him do more films in this particular direction because it feels like fertile ground, and it feels like something he's very good at. So until he follows through on the promise of that luchador vampire political allegory movie he teased a while back, I'd love to see more dark films in this particular vein, especially with a cast this good. Seriously, one of the best ensembles anyone has conjured in 2021. It's a dark and brutal tale, and it's easily about 30 minutes too long. Like, this movie's pushing the 3-hour mark. Really supremely unnecessary, and it definitely could have been trimmed and tightened in a lot of different places. I know I say that all the time, but this movie really feels its length. But I love that it's ultimately, for all of its darkness and brutality, a comforting tale. It's a difficult picture that shows this sort of tragic and cyclical conclusion that actually lets the viewer leave with something resembling the feeling of a happy ending. Because the person who takes the most advantage of the people around them ends up actually receiving a really, like, cosmically poetic sort of comeuppance, which is why fiction is so pleasant. That sort of shit just doesn't seem to happen in the real world anymore. Certainly not in the news. So yeah, I really dug Nightmare Alley. I know why some people kind of were into it, and why some of the sort of like overt gothic style might be too much and feels a little bit too unrealistic and maybe a little bit too arch. Like, it's not quite like Tim Burton territory, but it's like not exactly not adjacent to it, I guess. The whole cast is absolutely fantastic. I think Bradley Cooper's very good. I think that Rooney Mara and Cate Blanchett are both very good. I think that Willem Dafoe is like fantastic in his part. Ron Perlman's really good, and everyone that's in the movie really brings it. Even like Richard Jenkins doesn't show up until like what, hour 2. Like, really good work. Like, everyone just really strong acting, in my opinion. Dan Lawson's cinematography is good. Nathan Johnson's score is good. Like, everything about the movie really worked for me. It really made me want to go back and watch the Tyrone Power version of the movie, because I love Tyrone Power. I love older movies. I just haven't had the time to do it. I do think that if you have the time, you should check it out. I've heard nothing but good things about that film. But I think Nightmare Alley is really strong. It's kind of weird to me that in this year's awards race, Nightmare Alley feels like more of a long shot for like Academy Award stuff, even though technically it is way more of an Academy Awards prestige picture than The Shape of Water was, which was, like I said, thinly veiled Abe Sapien fan fiction. But who knows? I think most people that like Guillermo del Toro will like it. It's one of my favorite films of his, I think. I'm not quite sure how it's going to hold up on repeat viewings. Like, I do get the sense that maybe if I watch it again, I might find more to nitpick about. But like I said, when I was watching it, it gave me such heavy prestige vibes, and everyone that knows me knows that it's like my favorite Chris Nolan movie, like one of my favorite movies ever. And I just love watching the process of people showing how to do deception, how to like tell stories and create fiction to like mask things and stuff. Like, I'm so into that stuff. So there's a really good chunk of the movie that's just a bunch of carnies showing how they like con people at the carnival. Super into that stuff. Really fun. A little bit less so into the later actual film noir machination stuff because it feels kind of rote, but it all works well together, and I think the conclusion's really strong. Yeah, I really dug this movie, and I really think you guys should check it out. In my last video, I talked about Spider-Man No Way Home, and I talked about how the movie has all these really fleeting moments of fan service that are exactly what people want to see and hear, exactly what they want to feel, and it doesn't really feel very earned. Thinking about this movie after doing that review, I'm realizing like so much of the movie is literally a bunch of like old-timey storytellers telling Bradley Cooper's character, like, you can't just tell people what they want to hear over and over again, because there's diminishing returns and there's like a negative side of that. And obviously they're talking about like a very different thing. They're talking about pretending to talk to ghosts and manipulating people into thinking they're talking to their dead loved ones. Very different than like making people watch the ghosts of their childhood's favorite superheroes, I suppose. But to me, I don't know, all that stuff was kind of like in my head. It was all kind of like connected. There's a lot of kinship between Bradley Cooper's performance here in this movie and Simon Rex's in Red Rocket, another movie I just reviewed very recently. So I don't know, it's kind of interesting to see like a weird like pattern emerging of the movies I've been watching in the last month or so. And yeah, I like that this movie does talk about storytelling in this specific way, because I think it rings true. Like, I think that I wish that more movies were a little more hard won. I wish that the stories we were being told on a big scale were not just like giving you shit you want on a platter, you know? Because I think when you have to work really hard to get to like that moment at the end that is so nourishing, but it's more substantive, it feels more real. It sticks with you in a different way, I think, than like, oh, cool, pumpkin bombs, and then, you know, it's over. You know, I probably shouldn't be complaining about a Marvel movie in the middle of this review. But anyway, those are my thoughts about Nightmare Alley. I really liked it. I think that you should check it out. I can't think of a good reason not to, other than the fact that it's like almost 3 hours long. And the fact that I am suggesting you watch a movie that's almost 3 hours long should let you know how good it is, because y'all know I don't fuck with long movies. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the little bell notification thingy so you get notifications when I put out new videos. I have a few more big reviews to put out before the year is out, so you know, stay tuned here and check out my thoughts on the last few big movies of the year. And yeah, thank you all for watching. Hope everyone's doing well, staying safe, being good to yourselves and each other. I will see you in the next video. Bye.